At this time, the mayor would like to present a proclamation.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to use glasses this time so I can actually read the words instead of mumbling through them. You want to come stand up here? With me? So you got notes? Oh, look at you with notes. Jesus. All right. Timothy is going to read the proclamation after I say a couple of words about Mr. Ronnie Lamarck here. Today we recognize and celebrate the significant contributions of Mr. Ronnie Lamarck and the Lamarck companies, specifically for their ongoing support of the Kenner Food Bank. I'd like to take a moment to highlight the key aspects of Lamarck's contributions over the years. Monthly financial commitment. For over a decade, Lamarck Ford is committed to a monthly donation of $500, which plays a vital role in supporting the operations of the Kenner Food Bank. Provision of essential items. These funds are utilized to procure essential food items such as butter, milk, and eggs. Proactive communication. Lamarck Ford consistently reaches out to the food bank to check on the most urgent needs, ensuring that their contributions align with what is required to support the community effectively. Delivery of donations. In addition to their financial support, Lamarck Ford also takes the initiative to pick up and deliver these essential items directly to the food bank, facilitating the distribution process and ensuring timely assistance. A long-standing partnership. Their ongoing support, lasting over a decade, demonstrates a strong commitment to community welfare and highlights the importance of collaboration in addressing local challenges. And with that, I'm sure on behalf of everybody in the city of Kenner and my staff and all the city employees, we thank you for this long-standing partnership. So Timothy is going to read a proclamation for National Hunger.
Good morning. This proclamation is in recognition of National Hunger Action Month. Whereas hunger is a problem that exists throughout the world, from third world countries to the shining pinnacle of modernity in places like Poland, Germany, and the United States. Hunger Action Month was established by Feeding America in 2008 as hunger and poverty issues of vital concern, where an estimated 683,000 people in Louisiana live with food insecurity. Whereas this amounts to roughly 1 in 7 people in our state struggling to provide a healthy meal for themselves or their households. And whereas over 234,000 children in Louisiana experience food insecurity, ranking second in the United States for child poverty. Louisiana ranks first in the nation for senior hunger, as more than 13% of all Louisiana seniors aged 60 and older struggle to put food on their tables, leading to a higher risk of chronic conditions, including diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, and poor mental health. And whereas an estimated 562,000 Louisiana households are considered ALIENATION, which are households that are asset limited, income constrained, employed, and earn above the federal poverty, yet still struggle to afford basic expenses. While the City of Kenner Food Bank and their local partners annually provide more than 262,000 meals to over 1,000 residents of the City of Kenner, it is our responsibility as citizens of the City of Kenner to learn about hunger and to do our part reducing that hunger. Whereas the City of Kenner collaborates with Feeding America, Second Harvest Food Bank of New Orleans and Acadiana, the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry, and American Heart Association to educate people about the role of hunger relief organization. And whereas volunteers and member agencies like Second Harvest Food Bank of Greater New Orleans and Acadian understand the need for comprehensive, coordinated emergency food programs, place a critical responsibility not only upon the city, but on our community as a whole. Whereas this September, the City of Kenner joins communities across America that are committing to fight hunger during Hunger Action Month, a month dedicated to raising awareness of hunger in America and finding solutions within our communities. Now, therefore, the City of Kenner does hereby proclaim September as National Hunger Action Month and commit to pursuing opportunities within our local food systems to promote food access and food insecurity wherever possible. The City of Kenner recognizes the Lamarck companies and its employees as partners in this fight against hunger to improve food access more equitably throughout the communities we serve, to prevent hunger and promote the well-being of all residents of the City of Kenner under the seal of Mike Laser, Mayor, on this 20th day of September, 2024.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Again, we would just like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Lamarck and all that he does for the city, and especially the food bank. He makes sure that he has his staff call, check in with us, make sure we don't need anything further, but on a monthly basis, we're gonna be supplied with the essentials that families need to make meals at home, which is milk, butter, eggs, that everyone needs as a staple item in their pantry. So again, we would just like to thank him again for his continued support of the food bank.
All right, we're going to have a test on the proclamation. How many answers you get right will be insurmountable monies. I just want to tell you, I didn't know about this till yesterday, and I want to thank Chantel, yeah, and Chantel. That's what I said. What's wrong on? So anyway, just so you know a little bit about me, in 1980, I came here. I started in the car business in 1970, and I was here in 1980, and Eddie DiGirolamo was he was a representative. He used to be the mayor, and I went to see him that day. I may have told you all this story one time, and I said, I'm Ronnie Lamarck. My mother was Maria Ingolia DiGirolamo, and we're related. He says, I don't know that kid. So in about 90 days, we were advertised in the state of Louisiana, #1 all makes and models. He walks in that, he was all 5'8" of him, you know. Where's my cuz? Yeah, so I had to be on the map before I was acknowledged down the line. But you know, that's the story of my life, and maybe your life as well. You know, people wish you well, never too well. But I'm so honored to be in the city of Kenner, and you're moving fast. Look, we're in this beautiful building here because you've had adversity, and you make it up. You was at the mall. You're like Santa Claus. You're everywhere. But here's the deal. I'm so grateful to be in the car business. I have a driving sensation, but I'm 78, and well, I'll be 78 in March. And I was one of 8, and then we lost a child way back, and all my siblings are gone, my dad, mom, and everybody. I'm the oldest person. No one lived to my age. I have 2 brothers left, and they're younger than me, and they're not of the greatest of health, but the Lord has blessed me, and I'm healthy. So that could change in a New York second, but, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? Heaven? Is that the worst thing? A wretched person is me who repented to the Lord thy God, and I'm clean. So I just want to, you know I'm going to do a song, you know that, but it's a little different possible song. It's about us. We're in uncertain times. We have a big election coming up, a divided country. In any race you do, if a person wins 52-48 or 51-49 or 60-40, it's still a divided country. It's about our country. Where are we? What are we doing? War's going on right now as we talk. It's totally amazing that hurricanes and, you know, all the things that hurt us, and we're sinking supposedly in this, but I'm not moving. I love this area. So anyway, I'm very honored to have this award. And I would love for our companies to do more. And as long as I'm living, we will do more, whatever that period of time is as we go. I have my young son with me, different than me. Ronnie Michael's smarter than I, went to Newman, LSU, SEC honors and all that kind of stuff. See, I went to work to make something happen. I went to work when something was happening. I made things happen. These kids today, let me want to go to work when something's happening. So I got to go to work to make something happen so they could work. Anyway. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber ways of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy goods with brotherhood from sea to shining seas. from sea to shining seas. Amen. Thank you.
Yes, okay.
I would like to call the meeting to order. Are there any special intentions? Are there any special intentions? Well, at this time, I would like Councilmember McKinley to lead us in prayer and Mr. Al Murillo to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Council President. If everyone can bow their heads, please. Lord God, thank you for this day and the opportunity to come together to make impactful decisions for our community and work together for the best of Kenner. On this day, please give us direction, fortitude, and grace to deal with anything that may lay ahead. May we seek your guidance and work steadfastly in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Madam Chairman, could Councilman Brannigan have a moment before we say the pledge?
Sure.
I just learned that Alice Baroni had passed away, and if y'all could keep in your prayers the Baroni family. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was good. What?
Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am. We have a quorum this morning. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Next, we have correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Al, here comes some of your numbers. Keeps asking for revenue tax. Citywide sales tax revenues for August were down 5.41%, which is $218,852.02 compared to the same month last year. For the current fiscal year, we are up 0.66%, $52,608.90 compared to this time last year. Treasure chest numbers, some came in as compared to last year's month. The month of June, gaming revenue was up, pretty much doubled, up to $12,701,000 from last year's $6.8 million. July's is $12.485 compared to the same month last year, which was a little over $7 million. So it's pretty much almost doubled so far in the 2 months that they've been open, or the 2 months that were reported. Before I get into flood stuff, this Monday, the Kenner Loop returns to JP Transit. Flyers with info are in the table in the back. All RTA monthly passes purchased for September will be honored by JP Transit through the end of the month. So the people that have RTA monthly passes, they will be honored through the month of September. We closed on fire bonds this week, $5.3 million, and that's going to enable us to start building the Duke Street Firehouse by the end of the year. So, and purchase a few more things for the fire department. All right, flood storm numbers. We're sitting at 515 residences that were flooded, from just the ones that are reported to us. FEMA, GOSEP, JPEOC, SBA, and Kenner EOC, we have teams out in the affected area now doing their assessments, and they're reporting back to us. We have the tons of garbage, as you can imagine, have increased. Our local contractor, Waste Pro, is doing the storm pickup and their normal garbage pickup. They're running into issues at the landfill where trucks are sitting, for 2 hours waiting to dump debris. So that's part of our backup. Rain totals at some of our lift stations, and we have some JP, the Public Works Director, and Drainage Director here will speak about rain totals in their canals and pumps and things like that. But between 6 o'clock and 8:30 here at some of our sewer lift stations, we had upwards of 7 inches of rain. So that's it's remarkable to see that it was just a trace up until 6 o'clock, and it's about 6:30 when it jumped to 1.8 inches, 2.41 inches, and 2.52 inches in just 2.5 hours. So you're getting 2.5 inches of rain an hour, and I'm sure Mark Drews would tell you that the capacity is, that'll put a strain on it if everything was working. Here in the city of Kenner, what we struggle with during these events and large power outages is our sewer system. All our sewer lift stations work on electricity. They have to be switched to generators when the power goes out. Not all of them have generators, so we have vac trucks that empty these wet wells. When the sewer lift stations fill up, the sewer system doesn't work. That's when it starts backing up in houses and things like that, and that's something we just can't have. We didn't have a lot this storm, and that's what we do as a city is the sewer system, because more and more people, we get hundreds of these applications for whole home generators that people are going to stay home and have power and think everything's good, but their toilets aren't going to work if we don't keep the sewer system up and running. Our wastewater treatment plant was on generator power till late into Friday night. So you can imagine if the generators would have went out, we would have had zero capacity of treating sewage. So that's why it's imperative that we get energy to our treatment plants and our lift stations. And I don't know who wants to go first. Councilwoman Arita Bohannon, and I think she's going to introduce Ben and Mark, right? After your comments? All right, perfect.
Yes, Mayor. So as you know, I'm a newer member of the Jefferson Parish Council,
And so this is my first time being involved in a hurricane. And I know that we get a lot of, Facebook and social media questions, but I can tell you, just having been in the heart of it for the first time, it is a well-oiled machine. Watching how this city ran so smoothly, all hands on deck, and worked with the parish officials. It was really an honor to be a part of, and I'm actually pretty proud to be a member of this community. So the night of, it was a long night. We ended up getting stranded at the Actioner facility, my husband and I, and George Brannigan, trapped for several hours in a car. And it was with heartbreak that we watched the water rise on our streets. Late in the evening, we learned about an issue with the Duncan Canal, having 2 pumps that were struggling to come on and stay on consistently. And then it was the wee hours of the morning that we learned about the airport pumps. We weren't exactly sure how many at the time, but we knew at least half of them were down. It turned out later that it was 3 out of the 4. Since then, we have met with the airport, and when I say we, the members of the mayor and his staff, as well as parish officials, and we've met with literally all the executive staff at the airport. I am happy to tell you that I think they understand with this storm the severity of what happened, and I think they understand that their pumps contribute to an ongoing problem that Kenner has. And I think this is probably the first time that it really struck them the importance of making sure that their pumps are maintained and operated properly. And I can tell you with a lot of honesty that I feel like they are committed to making sure that that happens. They are also committed to making sure that there's a manual apparatus or something, our experts can tell you better, so that they do have a manual override if in the future the pumps, the automated system, fails again. So I do feel confident. They also are talking about a safe room so they can have it manned consistently, and so they're looking at some updates themselves. We have expressed to them that while they are an important member of our community, they're the largest business here in the city of Kenner. Even though they're not owned by us, but this is our home. It's their business, but this is our home. And so we will fight to protect it. And I think that they understood that clearly after this meeting. We do have follow-up meetings scheduled, so we'll keep y'all apprised of that. We met with Mark Drews, the Director of Public Works, and Ben Lapine. They're here. They're going to explain to you in more detail what actually happened with our 2 pumps. As you know, the airport pumps are not maintained, manned, owned, operated by us. The only ones in our district that were operated by the parish were the 2 at the Duncan Canal. That was 2 out of the 6, and they'll tell you about that. But in working with them, we have come up with a strategy, and to be honest, it's not a strategy we created. What we need is more pumps, and for that we need money. And so this is opening a door, because this is twice now that we've got hit very heavily. We had the opportunity to meet briefly with the governor, his executive staff, a lot of the state legislators, our congressional members, and lobby for additional funding for additional pumps. And I had a very small window, and even though I got yelled at LaToya by Control for doing it, I did take the opportunity to say that we have had at least 2 of these pumps on the books for over 10 years that we've been asking for. And we have a 3rd one that we'd like them to consider, and we're working on that internally if that's even feasible. But at least those 2 we know that we need. We know where they should be located, and it's time to find us the money from the federal government to help us do that. And I know that the city is committed and the parish is committed to lobbying for those fundings. This is, not an easy fix, but we are not going anywhere. I want the public to know that they should have some confidence. I can tell you with what I saw between this mayor lobbying, our parish president, our offices, and I mean the entire Jefferson Parish Council, and I know your offices as well. We are in the fight long term, and we need additional funding, but we, like I said, are not going anywhere. And I know that we're all committed to fixing it in the future. So I know it's a time where people can be really angry with what happened. And we're looking for someone to be the bad guy. There's no bad guy. We just need additional funding. We need additional pumps so that we can protect our city. So I just want you all to know that we, at every level of parish government and the state that I have been a part of, as well as your offices and your mayor, are lobbying for those additional fundings. So does anyone have any specific questions? No? Yay. Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to ask then Mark Drews, who's our Director of Public Works, and Ben Lapine, who's the Director of Drainage. They can come up and kind of give you an update on what actually happened to our particular pumps and what's been done since then.
And while they come up, council members, you all were emailed Ben's report on the whole, what happened during the storm. It's parish-wide, but 2 pages are dealing with specifically what happened in Kenner. So if you check your emails, you should have it.
I'm Mark Drews, the parish's Public Works Director, and this is Ben Lapine, Drainage Director. I'm going to give you the overview. Any technical questions, Ben can design pumps and operate them, so that's basically his specialty. Unfortunately, our system was overwhelmed. We acknowledge that we did have some mechanical failures during the storm, and that's all detailed in the report that was just emailed to you that we completed. This storm was unique in the way that it overwhelmed our system. I mean, typically I'll have a huge storm and it may be located in River Ridge and moving over Kenner and across the parish. What was different about this storm is it literally sat over the entire East Bank. What you have to understand is that our system is actually interconnected. Okay? You know West Esplanade, that canal runs the entire length of the parish east-west. West Napoleon, Veterans, West Mary, all east-west canals that actually connect what are our main north-south canals that take the water from as far as the river all the way to the lake, depending on what location you're in. And usually what will happen is if, say, Duncan is getting overwhelmed, well, Elmwood's next to it, it can take some of that water, but every one of our pump stations was overwhelmed. What happened was we had 7 to 9 inches on average on the entire East Bank, not just one section for the day, but what was worse was in a 3-hour period we had 4 to 6 inches. People have made questions about, okay, you should be drawing down the canal. Well, we actually do that, but we can only draw it down about 1 foot. But I can tell you as of 6, and you'll see it if you can read your graphs because they're kind of dark, but at 6 o'clock that night, after we had already had over 3 inches per day, every one of your outfall canals that go to the lake were 1/2 foot below the normal level. They were pumped down still at 6 o'clock at night. By 9:30, the Bonneville pump station had jumped 8 feet. The next would be Suburban, as I'm going from east to west, had jumped 6 3/4. I believe Elma was 6 1/2. Duncan was about 6 1/2, between 6 1/2, and similar to Parish Line. So the entire system was overwhelmed. And yes, we had flooding in Kenner, but I had flooding in Bucktown. We have confirmed flooding there. I had flooding on Veterans Highway close to the 17th Street Canal. We had some flooding in between the west and east, so I had flooding across the parish, which tells me that, look, even if I had every pump running, we would have had flooding. That's just the way it is. Now, the most significant issues we had were at Duncan and, of course, the airport. At Duncan, we have 6 pumps, and we had actually 5 of them on at the time, around 5:30, and that's when the first pump went down, okay? And it's a large pump. It overheated, okay? We had a coolant issue, okay? Now, very difficult to diagnose under those circumstances, but what we did, we went to start the 6th pump that we didn't need yet, okay? And unfortunately, we could not get that one started, okay? So I ended up down 2 pumps. We would actually get the one that overheated back on, but not until I believe it was probably 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, which helped at least try to get the water out quicker. We found the next day, after going in, that there's 2 fan motors on that pump that were responsible for cooling. They pushed the coolant around. Both engines were actually running. The motors on those pumps were running, but there was a bearing issue. It was impacted, so even though it was running and looked like it was fine, the fan blade was not spinning properly. That's why it overheated, okay? Which we would have never been able to diagnose, much less fix, especially during that short time when actually we really needed the pumps, which at the most, which was that 3 to 4 hour period. We actually got a pump mechanic out to Duncan at 10 o'clock after the wind died down to work on the pump that we couldn't start. They thought it was the starter. They changed the starter out. It wasn't the starter. So we were never able to get that one on. We actually had to have the, I think it's the certified electrician for that, that pump was able to diagnose it the next day. It was a starter relay that was preventing it from starting. So it was a significant setback at Duncan, but it was mechanical failure. The other major issue was the airport, okay? We don't operate that, but we have skaters, so we can see what's happening. We saw that, you know, I forget if it was around 6 or so, that the pumps were coming on for like 10 minutes, going off, 40 minutes later, getting on, right back off. So basically, those pumps were inoperable for the storm for that period. Ben had actually called them to see, you know, what was going on, to make sure someone was out there trying to do it, and he got a hold of the airport's person who, you know, was responsible for the pumps, and he was actually at the site trying to fix it, but he obviously was not able to. So, you know, obviously, you know, I can tell you our operators did everything they possibly could under that pressure. We have people, you know, that work in public works and obviously in the parish that live in Kenner. So we did everything we could. People have asked the same question too. Well, do you test the pumps? Yes, we test the pumps and run them every week. Even if I'm in a drought, we're going to run the pumps. So Monday we had run the pumps at Duncan. They all started fine. So it's, you know, some things we can't control. It's not a perfect system. But with that said, if y'all have any questions, we'll try to answer them.
Councilman Rahat.
Thank you all for coming today. We do appreciate it. I mean, I have lots of questions, and I went to the Jefferson emergency meeting you had the next day, and I think Ben may have said, you equated an example, just your car may break at some point. In the mechanics, it might. My question is, I mean, what is the reliability of these pumps in terms of statistics? I mean, is there a percentage in terms of this might happen again in the future? I mean, is there mechanical specification data saying these things may blow again? Or, I mean, if we had all our pumps down, Kenner we would have been all flooded, right. Every single one of us.
Look, it's like a law of probabilities. I mean, I have 194 pumps parish-wide,
yeah.
Okay? So you can statistically say, yeah, I'm likely to have an issue. And again, there's multiple points of failure on any mechanical system. I mean, I can have the coolant system fail, which we did have happen. I can have the motor. I assure you that, you know, we could probably, you know, get those records, but I'd have to go back in history to give you any kind of percentage. But, you know, what we do is as soon as we have an issue with a pump, we have parts at the place, so we get them fixed right away. You know, so we don't wait. Is the key is to make sure that they're all operational, and if one fails or a couple fail, I mean, I have to live with it because
why was
it's
it
not
two?
perfect.
Why were the two that failed in Kenner? I mean, why was it at Duncan? Is it a coincidence that it wasn't one there and one at Elmwood or one on the West Bank, or is it?
Look, I did have Elmwood. I had issues with 2 pumps. Okay.
Okay.
At Elmwood, it just wasn't as significant. I have 10 pumps at Elmwood. Okay. By 7:30, we had 9 pumps on. Okay, so that's 90% capacity. We went to put the 10th pump on, and we could not start that pump. Okay, and that one we weren't able to start. Okay, 8:30, one of the pumps overheated, but within 2 hours we had that pump up and running again. So it wasn't Duncan was the only one, but that one wasn't as significant as what I lost 2 at 5:30. So for the major event, that was it. I did not have any issues at any of the pumps at Bonneville or Suburban on that end of the parish, and that's what I keep telling people. I still had flooding, okay? Bucktown, I still had flooding, and I had 100% capacity at not only Bonneville, but the one next to it. So, I mean, it's just not a perfect world. You know, we do constant maintenance, et cetera. But I can tell you, most events, most all the pumps. I have all the interior pumps. I had no issues with my interior pumps, and you can imagine how many I have interior pumping to canals. Now, West Bank and East Bank is the total of 194, but I can tell you, we'll probably have more pumps on the East Bank, I would assume, than the West Bank. So, I mean, overall, you know, when you look at it statistically, at the worst possible time, when I might have had the most pumps on, I was still at least 85% of greater capacity.
Okay. And compared to the rainfall from what we had during Hurricane Ida to what we had last week, I haven't looked at meteorological data. I mean, Ida, there was no flooding, and that storm was over us for 5 hours, and absolutely pulverizing the city with wind. but the rain data, in terms of you saying, in terms of the shortage of time and the inches we had, is what led to, with the other areas, the parish flooding. So in comparison, Francine was that much more devastated in terms of rainfall?
Yes, it was. Okay,
Okay.
now I'd have to go back to get you the actual data, but I lived through Ida. Ida was more of a wind, was where we had way more
Yeah.
issues. It was not as this
Absolutely.
torrential rain, and especially it didn't have rain that just sat over us for a long period of time at an incredibly high rate.
Okay.
Okay, Councilwoman McKinley?
Thank you, Council President. My question is, so I know Councilwoman Bohannon mentioned that there's a proposal, excuse me, there's a proposal for 2 additional pumps for the Kenner area eventually. In a rain event such as this, is that going to, like, kind of explain to me how that would have had an impact if we had 8 pumps in Kenner versus the 4 that's, like, would it have made, I mean, honestly, because you're saying
Yeah.
the amount of rain, it
Look,
was the effect.
would
Would it
it-
have made a difference?
In this case,
Yes.
it minimal at best, okay, because we're talking pumps that might add 700 CFS, like Duncan Canal, the Duncan pump station is 4,800, and all the 4 big ones on the lake range from 3,750 to 5,300. Would it help? Yes, because let's look at it this way. If I put 2 extra pumps at Parish Line, okay, with about 600, 700 CFS, okay, if the airport was out, they could pick up that slack. So yes, it would help. It would help that area of South Kenner. So yes, it will help. Would it have solved this problem in this storm and not still have been overwhelmed? I don't believe so, but, after you add more and more, we're just in better shape.
And also, in terms of, I mean, I know you said pumped it down, but it is, with regard to the rainfall, there was previous rainfall, the week before, and the ground was
Yes.
oversaturated, right? Does that have an impact on it? I mean, that's.
Yes,
I'm
it
not
has an
I don't
impact
know
in that.
anything
Look,
about
what
it.
I can tell you is, like I told you, we were keeping up with it till
Right.
a little after 6 p.m. We still had at the pump station down half a foot. Now, you have to understand that water's traveling all the way to the south, so the canal levels there are going to be way higher than what's at my pump station. But that's the best you can do. I can't, if I pump in any load in that, I'm going to lose my pumps. They're going to start sucking air. So from that standpoint, we did pump it down, but we only pump it down what we can handle, because you got to understand the water table here. If I pump it below the water table, I can start damaging adjacent properties next to the canal. I can start losing my canal bank and my pumps again. I can have issues trying to start them. So we did do it. We bring it down every major storm. We'll drop it, but no more than a foot, and we'll try to maintain it as long as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Short?
Thank you, ma'am. Director, look, I don't want to be beating you up, okay? You've been beat up enough.
I've been beat up
I'm not
before.
going to
It's
do
all right.
that.
Ask your question.
But our Tuesday morning briefing was all pumps are operational.
And they were, okay? Again, like I told you, on Monday, we tested every pump, and they were all working, okay? I mean, that's what we do every week, okay? Now, as a pump is running for a long time or some other issues comes up, I mean, there's nothing we can do but try to correct it as we see it. But before every storm, we make sure that we've tested every pump, all 194 of the pumps. I had 2 actually were out, one in Lafitte, but we had a temporary in its place, and one at Pontiff that pumps in the Pontiff playground. But all my other pumps were tested, on Monday of that week.
Knowing that there were 90% chance that we were going to lose electricity, okay?
Yes.
And I know it's like anything else, any generator, you drop the power, shore power, and generator kicks on, okay? Instead of waiting for the power to go out, could we run these get these generators up and running before we even lose power and have it running?
Right.
And that way we don't have to wait.
Okay. There's pros and cons to that, okay? And I'll tell you why on the drainage side, we don't do that. 70% of my pumps are diesel, okay? So I have 70% that if the power goes out, the diesel pump will keep running. So based on history, generators fail, okay? And usually, and we test all our generators, but generators typically fail when they go to full load and they've been on for a few hours. So it's which way do I go? If I go ahead early and I put those pumps, run them all on generator power, okay, and say at 3 hours, the generator, for whatever overheats or whatever, and gets killed, I'm dead. So when I lose power, that's it. I have no pumping capacity whatsoever. So we would rather take that delay, okay, and know that, hey, I'm much more confident my generator hasn't been overstressed, hasn't, had any issues, or, I haven't even used it yet until that happens, which is typically around the height of the storm, so I'm confident that, that generator's probably gonna get me through the height of the storm. So it's one or the other, and, we make a decision based on past experience, but we do that actually at my water plant, okay? That's a life safety issue, and that, it's not the same. The water is a giant megawatt, thing, 'cause it runs the entire water plant. So you can imagine, I have to suck the water with pumps out of the river. I have to push that water out into the parish and run the whole treatment plant. So we do that, because in that case, it makes sense, okay? Because it might take 15 to 20 minutes, and all that time, if we don't get it right, the pressure's dropping. The system can probably handle at most, maybe 45 minutes before I'm in a boil water. So that's just a choice that we made based on past history.
So basically what you're telling me, this storm was short-lived. It came in, came out, it dumped a lot of rain in a short number of time.
Yes.
If we get something that sticks around here, and it goes from there, and you lose power, and then you're gonna lose generator power, we're done with it, basically.
Look, we load test those generators, so those generators should keep working, okay? But what I'm trying to do is minimize the chance that I'm gonna lose a pump, period, okay? So, our generators should keep working, but I can guarantee I get into a case like that, yeah, I'm sure I'll probably lose percentage-wise one or two, and it all depends where it is. Because, I have generators all over the parish. So, it's just it's probability and statistics. So, we prepare as best we can. The system is remarkably, significantly better than Katrina. It's just remarkably better, but it's not perfect. It relies on machines that, have points of failure.
Yeah, either way, we're going to have generators. We don't have enough mice to run it, okay, on a wheel.
Well, again, it is like anything. The more we build, the more we have to maintain. So it does, yeah,
And basically, how old it would be, do you know, I have an idea how old is the oldest generator compared to some of the newer generators? Compared to like New Orleans, like we're dealing with 100-year-old
no.
system. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How modern or how updated is our system?
I don't know. Look, do you have an idea like how your oldest one? Because we replace them again as we have issues.
Oldest ones would probably be in the 80s bond issue, but again, low hours. So old doesn't necessarily mean, troublesome. A lot of our equipment does have low life hours. So.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Brannigan?
Mark, thanks for being here and explaining this. The city of Kenner, the elevation change, it's 14 feet lower in North Carolina than South Kenner. And I understand where if you drain the pump, the canals down in North Kenner, it's going to mess up your pumps on the south side of Jefferson Parish because the water is going to flow that way, and it could mess your pumps up there. You were talking about adding pumps at pump stations. Are you looking at adding electrical or diesel pumps at the Parish Line Canal and Duncan?
Diesel. Couple of
diesel
diesel pumps. We
pumps.
have one diesel pump there. I have 3 electrical pumps. So literally when we were actually running the 3 electric pumps when the power went out at Parish Line, we started the diesel within 6 minutes. We had the next electrical one on within 15. And we had, because we were only using 3, we had all 4 on within an hour.
Okay.
And look, that's all in the report because, look, like I said, we tried to put, we have nothing to hide. We put everything that happened in that report. So actually, the governor actually requested an after-action report, and we, completed that report. It was probably Tuesday, late Tuesday, wrapped it up actually Wednesday.
The diesel pumps, are those the ones, that's the 3750 to 5,000 CFS, is it? CF?
Well, you can get them in any size, but, you know, our larger diesel, the larger pumps tend to be diesels. So, yeah.
Okay.
In our system, our larger pumps are diesel.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question. I don't want to be redundant, but, because I know North Kenner actually was harder hit than South Kenner. But what happened in South Kenner? Was it basically the Duncan Canal or was it the airport?
Well,
Because the airport, my understanding of the airport
it's,
only has a
they
little.
both drain parts of South Kenner. I think it was at Bell Ridge, or there's like a split point on South Kenner where part of it is gonna go to basically make its way to the Butler Canal through the airport, and if it bypasses the airport, goes to Paris Line, and part of South Kenner makes it into the Duncan and goes all the way north. So it's both, actually.
Okay. Anybody else?
Councilwoman, you didn't want to be redundant?
We done.
Councilwoman
No,
Dunn?
no.
Okay, just clarification.
Thank you. Anybody else? Joey?
Well, Mark, I just want to thank you for clearing this up so that the public knows what's going on. Because we get calls, you know, all the pumps on and just crazy stuff, and it's like, yes, the pumps are on and they're working, but you're going to have mechanical issues, especially on motors that are cooling motors. Those things go out all the time, you know, on air conditioning units at houses and everything. So thanks for clearing it up and making sure and putting it in a way that the residents can understand what's going on, what happened, why it happened. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Wilmot?
Thank you, Madam President. I just have one main question, because I think you covered a lot of ground already. The Duncan Canal is like a main artery in Kenner, as far as drainage is concerned. And the airport has some input on that drainage process, as well as the parish, the both of y'all. Do y'all keep communication? Is there a plan in place, or will y'all communicate with one another as far as the pumps, theirs being on and ours being on at the parishes?
We have SCADA at that airport facility, so we can see that the pumps are on, if they're working or not. And that's literally what we saw. When I told you that, Ben saw that, so that's why he called. So he called him, got the guy right away. He just wanted to make sure someone's there trying to fix it. Okay, so we have that communication available.
So you have some communication available?
Yeah, I have some, so we have the number to call, but we have the SCADA, so I can actually see the pumps. We can see the pumps are on, we can see if they're off, okay? We can see the levels at that station as well. So we have enough information where we can see a problem. There's just, you know, all we can do is communicate with them and make sure that they're working on it.
Do they have a way of communicating with you?
Sure, I mean, it's the same thing. They have
Same
our
principle.
number. Yeah, they absolutely have our number. They have Ben's number, they have the, you know, the same contact, and of course, they can always call our EOC.
Again, that's a main artery for drainage
Yes.
throughout the city of Kenner, and it's critical that we keep communication between the two, since y'all both impact that canal. So,
Right.
Thank you.
Okay?
Councilman Brannigan?
One more thing. You said that the fan motors went out on the pumps, and that's what caused them to overheat. And I know that, is that correct?
No, actually, the motor was running, okay,
Okay.
but there was a bearing that got impacted, so the fan was not spinning like
Oh,
it should, okay?
okay.
So if you're looking at, you know, the motor or the SCADA thing, you think everything's fine, but it's actually not. So that's what we found out the next day when we, you know, were able to open it up and go in there.
Okay, so I know that you can't keep every part that's on these pumps,
No.
you know, at a station with 194 pumps throughout the parish. But when you see something like that happen, if y'all, you might want to consider having parts that broke, you know, in inventory, and not that you could have fixed it that night, but have that ready to
Yeah,
go
well,
if something like that happens.
And Ben will tell you, what we do is, again, our pump station operators know over time what they've had the most trouble with. So
Okay.
that's the parts we keep, the ones
Right.
that we typically look. This is gonna be an issue, maybe an issue, and we do try to do that.
Okay, well, thank you, appreciate it.
Councilwoman McKinley?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just want to point out, I was rereading or reading through this after action report, and I think it's important to highlight this one paragraph. It says the Kenner Basin is approximately 9,921 acres. Just using the average East Bank rainfall of 7 inches, given the 250 million cubic feet of water versus 6,050 cubic feet per second of pumping, that should be 30 hours of straight pumping, assuming that all of the water instantly went into the pumps, as opposed to routing through the canals and pipes that take time. The combined nature of the pumping system allow other stations to carry massive loads. So basically, what you're saying is that we're so large of an area, and I mean, obviously the Jefferson Parish, all of East Bank is so large that it would have taken a huge effort to remove all the water essentially from
We're
that.
just trying to explain, and that's why I kept it, I think the simpler way is
Right,
the way
but
we
I
did it.
mean, I think that
But what that
just the
tells you is,
numbers
what we were
versus,
looking at
right.
is just Kenner's capacity.
Yes.
Okay? If just, if Kenner was on an island,
Yeah.
if Kenner flooded and this is the capacity we have, it would have taken that. But it will never take that long because I have
Right.
multiples, we're all interconnected, so that water's gonna seek its own level and get to the pump that's drawing it down. But it was just an idea.
And
of
water
what
just
you're
goes
looking
where it,
Yes, and again, that's
I
where,
mean,
I mean,
that's- it
obviously, the
flows.
flooding that we had was in the lowest level areas of the parish.
right. I mean, and we're also on a swamp, so.
Yes, well, we know. We deal with it every day.
Mayor Glazer?
Thank you all for coming and explaining. I just want to, I guess, reiterate that all the pumps at Duncan were running now.
Yes.
Your
Oh,
two
yes.
repaired, so the 6 are running now.
Yeah, the last pump that was out that we had issues with was repaired, I think it was it Thursday morning? Yeah.
And,
So all the pumps are back up and
Yeah,
running.
and as of yesterday afternoon, the airport still isn't running properly, correct?
Yeah, we're going to check with them
Yeah.
today. Their technician was actually on site yesterday trying to figure it out, so we'll get an update. We'll get an update for you, Mayor.
And it's the same representatives that service your pumps
Yes, oh,
that
yes.
service the airport pumps.
Right, because there's
So-
specialized controls. It's Prime Controls, they do our SCADA system as well. They absolutely know what they're doing. Which gave us confidence when we heard that they were the ones going to be out looking at the airport station.
And one final thing is, as we said, more capacity would be best for everybody in East Jefferson Parish. The Seton Park Pump Station is in final design, which will alleviate that equalizer canal along Joe Yenny, correct? Going into Duncan?
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
what it will do is, it'll take some flow out of that parish line, I believe. It's just north of parish line, but it takes flow out that eventually will work its way to Duncan. So yes, it's
Yes,
helpful.
so-
Anything I can take out directly into the lake, takes it out.
So that
Pump
one's in,
station at the lake.
so that one's in final design. Here in South Kenner, 2 months ago, we began design of the Pump to the River project, which is going to alleviate pushing everything that goes in the storm drain here in Rivertown ends up in Lake Pontchartrain, which makes little sense to us. But that's a $25 million project. It's going to take years to design and build, even if the money was in the bank. So it's our job to, lobby state and federal government to fund these programs, and that's kind of what we've been doing now. It's not just for the storm. This started pretty much the last couple of years, trying to get the money to build it. Now it's $25 million in today's dollars, so it's going to increase. So that's kind of where we're at today. Like, I thank y'all for coming. Like I said, this storm had rainfall totals in our sewer system that in 2.5 hours that were pretty much never seen in the last many, many, many years. So with that, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, explaining a lot of that to this council. Yes, you can meet with him. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Mayor, you finished with your comments? Are you finished? Okay.
Yes, go ahead. You can ask the question. Go ahead.
Time to go to the podium.
Yes, to the podium.
Yeah, my name is George Calvertone. I live at 67 Yellowstone Street in Kenner. And I heard everything you said, sir. Yeah, I had one, you said you test the pumps every Monday, is that correct?
That's necessarily once a week, is what I'm saying.
Okay, once a week, okay. So my question is, it sounds like the testing wasn't rigorous enough because the pumps failed. Okay, let me back up a little bit. How do you test the pumps? You just turn them on?
Yeah, could you face the
Turn
microphone?
them off? Yeah, let me.
No, we do,
Sounds like your testing is inadequate, is what I'm saying.
yeah, we do test the pumps under load. If need be, we backflush water to put water in the canal so we can pump it right back out to test under load.
Okay, and the two pumps that failed, they didn't fail the test, the testing?
No, they did not.
Do you have log reports of your tests?
Yes.
Your weekly tests? Okay.
We do.
Those are available?
Yeah, public records request, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good morning. I've got a question for you too, because when you talk about your 48, 82 stuff at Duncan,
Can you face the microphone?
is that per pump?
No, Duncan Canal is the total capacity of all the
Total,
pumps
that's
is
6 pumps.
4,800 CFS.
Okay, so one thing I don't understand, because I'm familiar with motors, and when a bearing's going out on a fan, you could almost hear that a month ahead of time. You could hear the pitch to it. Was your engine running hotter than normal? Because if your fan's not spinning like it's supposed to be, you should have a gauge telling you the motor's running hotter than it should be running.
I'll let Ben.
It just doesn't happen like that. That goes, and when did they change the bearing previously?
Well, I don't have that information on hand. Right now, there's 2 motors for each radiator. One radiator was spinning slower, the RPMs, the other one was working just fine. So when we do a 2-hour load test, we didn't catch it. What happened was after 4 hours of pumping, that's when we saw the failure at 5:30.
But you understand,
So-
when you run a motor for so long, your temperatures are gonna change.
Of course.
You know? So if you got one fan really putting out and one's not, your temperature's going up. So you know you got a problem, even if you don't hear the pitch of the bearing's going up. So there's too many things that were happening to that motor that people should have heard it a month ahead of time. And if and you know, if I got a motor, a fan motor, that's been there for 10 years, and nothing's happened to it, I'm probably gonna change it out in 6 years, because I don't wanna ever see that happen. Preventative maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we are doing is we're not just fixing that one motor, we're fixing all 4 radiators, well, I guess it would be 8 radiator fans. So, I mean, when we do spot an issue, we don't just fix that issue, we look at every other pump in the system and fix it. That's why when we do see a problem, it usually multiplies by 12 because we proactively change the others. So,
It seems like nobody's proactively doing, because you had 2 failures in 1 incident.
Well,
So it seems like somebody really wasn't preventative maintenance, wasn't on that. You know, and there's too many people, 515 houses flooded, you know? I mean, that's awful. That's awful. You ever had a house flood?
yes.
It's not a pretty sight.
Look,
I understand.
Look, we did everything we could.
No, you didn't.
Listen to me.
You had 2 failures.
Yes, and I had 2 failures that were not the same. They were totally different, okay? So, you know, we've explained it to you that, look, okay, it's not a perfect world. We
Okay.
do the best we can, okay? We test the things. When we know there's a problem, we'll address it. Okay? But that was 2
But you
different,
didn't do the best.
totally different points of
At
failure.
this time, you all that would like to speak with him personally, you all can meet him outside or exchange numbers, and they can answer your questions.
Ms. Dunn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dunn, they're also welcome to come to the parish council meeting where maybe the forum's a little more convenient for the questioning answer
Okay.
portion. So I would invite you all to come to the parish council meeting. It'll be this Wednesday. So it may be easier to do that than to do it like this, because at least
Okay.
there's a way for them to ask the questions.
Okay, all right. Madam Clerk?
Okay, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item 1 is approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of September 5th, 2024. Item 2 is
Quiet,
approval.
please.
Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2417-24, New Orleans Track Club to hold a public gathering on December 14, 2024 from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the purpose of a run/walk at Rivertown Heritage Park, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 2418-24, Metairie Humane, to hold a public gathering on October 26, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the purpose of a pet fest at Wentwood Playground. Item 3C is application number 2420-24, Roy Lynn and Colin Hewlin, to hold a public gathering on October 6, 2024, from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the purpose of a National Night Out Against Crime 2024 at 11 Rainier Street. And that will conclude the consent agenda. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Brennan, to approve the consent. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0.
Excuse me, we are still in the council meeting. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 8, public hearings and final passage. Item 8A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,662, an ordinance amending the capital budgets for various fiscal years to reallocate unexpended funds to fiscal year 2024/2025. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Dunn, to open your public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to address the council on this matter? Please come forward. Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Dunn, to close your public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Dunn, for approval. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 8B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,663, an ordinance approving a conditional use for a food truck park in a C2 general commercial district located on lots Z-1A, X-1-Y-2, and Y-9B, square 329 through 330, Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, in accordance with site elevation and landscape plans by Studio 314 Designs dated July 18, 2024. Have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to open your public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to come forward to speak on the matter? Mr. Brown?
Richard Brown, live in District 4, Kenner. I just wanted to ask if the council will defer this matter for 1 or 2 meetings. Several of us have some concerns about it. We like it in concept. We think there's still some details that need to be worked out, and we hope you'll defer it for either 1 or 2 meetings. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I have a request by Councilmember Sharwood to defer for 1 meeting. Do I have a second to his deferral? Seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on a 1-meeting deferral. Is there any discussion on deferral?
Yes, ma'am. Council members, something just came up, important, that I want to make sure that things are taken care of before we go ahead and vote on this. So I'm asking for a 1-meeting deferral until we work out the final little kinks on this, please.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes, Council President, thank you, Council President. I'd like to get the opinion of the director for Director Wendell to explain, give his opinion on this as well.
On the
On the
development
deferral.
or the
On
deferral?
the deferral.
Well, that is out of my hands. I would say that I was prepared to basically say that the Planning Commission recommended approval, that there has been a change in the development since the Planning Commission that has significantly reduced to a negligible parking deficiency of only 4 spaces. And they have met all the other requirements of a food truck park as listed in the food truck park ordinance that you adopted back in March. So, but I'm going to let the councilman take the lead on this, and I'm prepared to come back October, whatever that first meeting is, and fully present the case. But the Planning Commission did recommend approval, so I think, I think we'll get it worked out.
Okay, so I guess, so what you're saying is that the Planning Commission recommended approval, but there were some changes to it in the interim, and then so that's why the concerns are for the deferral.
Should I go into
I want to
this?
understand.
Do you want me to go into this? Okay, so really the main issue was the parking. They were attempting to obtain a parking agreement with the property owners where the Fat Boys Pizza is next door. That property is now for sale, and so they were not able to work out a parking agreement to increase their parking. So in lieu of that, they decided to reduce the size of their food truck park, the actual portion of the food truck park that would be calculated for parking. Like think of it as like a restaurant. You have a lot and you have the restaurant. And the parking for a restaurant or a business is based on the square footage of that business, not the entire property. And so the portion of the food truck park that we used to calculate the parking was reduced from 13,000 and something down to 10,000. So they were required then to provide 66 parking spaces, and they provide 62 spaces on site, which, given what in the planning department, we feel that the nature of this business is going to be a substantial amount of transient patrons who will come, pick up their food, what they want, and then leave. There's, I believe, only going to be seating for around 30 people at the food truck park. So it's going to be by nature a transient operation. And so we didn't think 4 spaces, it was considering that we have had other proposals that have come before the council where there's been a larger deficit of parking, but due to the nature of the business, we have recommended approval. And and the Planning Commission recommends approval, and the Planning Department sticks with that recommendation.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
And they have met all the other requirements of food underground utilities, no generators. They're going to have a grease trap, bathroom facilities, separate bathroom facilities. Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you.
Wendell, were there any other concerns other than the parking?
We had someone question their lighting and saying that they're required to have certain type of lighting, but I'm not aware in the UDC that we require any specific type of lighting. I don't think there's anything in the Code of Ordinances, Mr. Hebert might be able to touch on that would require a certain type of lighting. They're using string lighting, which actually I think is better. Even though there's no residential really close to this development, it would be better to have that type of lighting than to have like big spotlights up that could shine into someone's yard. This property is actually separated from any residential by a huge hotel behind it. So, and it does front on Veterans, a major commercial corridor. So I don't think there's any issue with the lighting. It's the same lighting we use in Rivertown, all over, string lighting, and it's only going to be for the area where they have the food trucks and the seating for patrons.
So basically, the parking issue is the main deal, and our planning department feels comfortable with what the changes.
We're
they
very
made.
comfortable with only being short 4 spaces, given what type of business this is.
Okay.
It's similar to when we do hotels that are close to the airport. We know a significant percentage of the patrons of these hotels will not have vehicles.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Wilmot.
Thank you, Madam President. It looks like we're getting into the subject matter of this legislation as opposed to the deferral. So I ask that we focus on the deferral, of course, and as far as complaints and so forth, or comments by people, know that I did get one, and it's really in detail. Now, whether or not it's actually some of this stuff is well-founded or not well-founded, I'm still going to go ahead and say it since we're getting into some of the issues. Lack of parking spaces is one of them. Of course, that's being directed or corrected. String lighting restrooms, grease traps, landscaping, possible loud music, on-site management, security, those types of things have been mentioned. And I'm just bringing them up because I simply think we ought to have a one-meeting deferral so we can get into some of these nooks and crannies. I think it's important. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on deferral? Seeing none, council members, please vote on a one-meeting deferral. All council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. Councilmember Brannigan is opposed to deferral. Item 9 is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of immovable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 13,648, an ordinance accepting an award in the amount of $2 million for the use of lead hazard grant funds in the city of Kenner for the Department of Community Development. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Is there any discussion? All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 13,661, an ordinance ratifying the acceptance of a grant in the amount of $133,350 and to enter into an agreement with Delta Regional Authority regarding the Strategic Planning Grant Program for the Department of Wastewater. Have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution temporarily suspending Council Rule 7 of the Rules of Organization, Business, Order, and Procedure of the Council of the City of Kenner and rescheduling the Kenner City Council meetings of January 2nd to January 9th, January 17th to January 24th, March 6th to March 13th, March 21st to March 28th, April 3rd to April 10th, April 18th to April 25th, May 1st to May 8th, May 16th to May 23rd, and July 3rd to July 10th, July 18th to July 25th of 2025. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Dunn. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution in support of a temporary waiver of residential permit fees if permit was necessitated by damage from Hurricane Francine. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution
Wait.
request.
I just asked that I be added on. I don't know who sponsored this legislation. I believe the administration, but I'd like to be added on as a co-author onto it. And if any of my colleagues, they can let their opinion be known. Yes, sir.
Mayor, you okay with that? Yes. Okay. Everyone would like to be added?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. We'll reflect it. Item 13C is a resolution requesting that October 1st, 2024 through October 31st, 2004 be declared Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none. Oh, Councilman Brennan?
I'd like to, there were stats that were released recently on breast cancer and the number of people affected by it and such. So I think this is just very important. Not only am I asking for my co-council members for support, if they would like to be on this resolution as well, let's do that, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we will change that one as well. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 13,649, An ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Parish of Jefferson for the purpose of installing one permanent generator for the Kenner Food Bank in an amount not to exceed $117,450. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 13,650. An ordinance ratifying an emergency repair of the street sweeper by Covington Sales and Service Incorporated in the amount of $9,107.45 for the Fleet Management Department. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Seeing no discussion, all council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 13,651, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 4400027993 to purchase industrial equipment on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $300,000 annually for the Fleet Management Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember Sharwood. Seeing no discussion, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 13,652. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated to furnish and install a new outdoor condensing unit at Gladys Gym in accordance with electric bid 24-2141 in an amount not to exceed $26,750 for the General Services Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 13,653. An ordinance ratifying an emergency repair of fire engine 378 located at Fire Station 37 by Kenworth of Louisiana in the amount of $34,084.30 for the Kenner Fire Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Dunn. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 13,654. An ordinance ratifying the emergency replacement of the 200 HP WEG motor at wastewater treatment south plant blower number 1 by Motors and Controls Incorporated in the amount of $14,138 for the Department of Wastewater. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 13,655. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from BGS LLC to furnish 5 task force blitz fire monitor combos and 2 ProPack angle coupling equipment portable foam systems in accordance with bid number 24-2140 in an amount not to exceed $20,605 for the Kenner Fire Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilman Lahat.
What is a blitz fire monitor combo? Chief? Yeah. Oh, it's fire? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. What is a blitz fire monitor combo? Like, what is that? It's usually the blurred police. Some of the. I don't know.
It sounds weird. No, it's master stream that's self-monitoring, where you can put it down and you don't have to man it, and it flows 500 gallons. Some of them flow 1,000 gallons per minute. Monitors to protect certain exposures, large types of fire where you need to dump a bunch of water on it and you don't want to put the manpower.
Okay.
So it's one of those. And by the way, that money came from a grant through Shell.
Okay.
That wasn't.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Sounded cool.
Seeing no further discussion, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 13,656, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram vehicles on an as-needed basis from Premier Automotive LLC under State of Louisiana Contract Number 4400023795, and an amount not to exceed $140,000 annually for the Kenner Police Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Lahat. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15I is summary ordinance number 13,657. An ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Parish of Jefferson for bleacher repairs and upgrades to Muspertolino Stadium in an amount not to exceed $220,750. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Councilman Brannigan has his hand up.
Oh, Councilman Brannigan.
I would just like to thank Councilman Woman Rita Bohannon for stepping to the plate to help us and enhancing Bertolino Stadium. What we're doing is we're adding 947 seats on the visitor side, and that's just going to be better to attract schools, bigger Catholic League schools to Bertolino. And the next thing that I'll be working on is the home side. But I just wanted to thank Councilwoman Bohannon for stepping to the plate for me.
Yes, ma'am. Seeing no further discussion, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15J is summary ordinance number 13,658. An ordinance approving the utilization of Jefferson Parish contract number 55-21301 with Southern Synergy LLC to provide labor, material, and equipment to remove and install retro-reflective thermoplastic pavement markings on an as-needed basis and an amount not to exceed $250,000 annually for the Public Works Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Sharwood. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15K is summary ordinance number 13,659. An ordinance approving change order number 1, final to the agreement with BLD Services LLC dated March 8, 2024 regarding the 43rd and California Partial Force Main Replacement Project to decrease the agreement amount by $89,940.55 and accepting the project as complete by the Department of Wastewater. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember McKinney.
Mr. Almarulla.
Al Morello, 4260 East Royola Drive, 5th District, 52 years. These are the kind of change orders I like. I want to commend Joanne for a job well done. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Can't make it no more brief than that. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, all council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15L is summary ordinance number 13,660. An ordinance ratifying the emergency replacement of pump number 3, variable frequency drive at 24th and Delaware Lift Station by Southern Controls Incorporated in the amount of $20,563 for the Department of Wastewater. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Lahat. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving a conditional use for a place of worship located on Lot 14A, Square 23, in Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which property is zoned C2 in accordance with the site plan dated May 29, 2024, and a landscape plan dated July 9, 2024, both by Professional Design Group. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Fast Signs to furnish and install new sign at Muspertolino Stadium in accordance with electronic bid 24-2984 and an amount not to exceed $8,564.66 for the Parks and Recreation Department. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from
Bayou State Fasteners to supply blades, mesh, and rebar on an as-needed basis in accordance with electronic bid 24-2144 in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for the Department of Wastewater. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Polydyne Incorporated to provide polymer on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid 24-6845 in an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually for the Department of Wastewater. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Councilman Brannigan?
Yes, in regards to the hurricane, I just want to thank Energy for getting the majority of the city up in probably about 8 to 10 hours, and then working out the kinks. In District 4, I had a couple locations that I am in contact with Energy to look at to see why it took longer in these locations, and it could be, wiring underground and stuff like that. So the residents that came on later, we do have your spots, and we want to make sure that Energy fixes those spots. Also, if normally when we have hurricanes come through, it knocks out a lot of street lights. If you have a street light in front of your home that is out, please just you can text the address to my cell, 504-450-1988, or you can report it through my council office. Thank you.
Councilman Lahat?
Oddly enough, coming from me, I also want to thank Energy. I've been one of their biggest critics the last 2 years, but I think they were very well staged for this storm. They had my district up about 97% within 24 hours. Jimmy Aiken was highly responsive to me on every single issue, every street, every time they would feed the lines and re-energize. And for some issues I had on California and Arizona, and I texted Michelle Borg, who's their customer relations representative, was impressed with their staging and their response time. Also want to thank Arita. Thank you so much for your hyper responsiveness with everybody checking on me. Me and you were like a machine on Facebook for about 72 hours. I had people contacting me all over Kenner. And also Police Chief Conley. I thought the KPD was everywhere. Y'all did a fantastic job. Thanks for checking on me as well at my house right before it hit. But thanks to both of you. Y'all were there the entire time. And Rita, I'm behind you. If you need anything with the parish or statewide issues, people behind you to get money you need to rectify these things, I'm there. I know we're all there for you. But thank you so much.
Okay, Councilman Wilmot?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to also thank a few folks as well, because we had a lot of things that happened, of course, and we had to address them right away. And it's very important to get on them immediately. We had, of course, Entergy. Jimmy, he was just excellent. We contacted him about various things, power poles on Power Boulevard, and they actually got straightened out. I got a complaint and got out there, and before I got a chance to really get into it good, they were out there changing it, so it was excellent. And it appeared to be dangerous. One of the poles actually snapped, the other one was leaning. We had a drainage issue. It was a big, I say drainage, it was a water leak. Councilwoman Arita Bohannon, again, she addressed it immediately. The complaint came in that night. The next morning, the crews were out there digging up the ground and repairing that pipe, and it was a major leak. So thank you very much for being there and being on top of things. And that's the way she runs her office. So we appreciate you very much. Also, Waste Pro. I wanted to mention, I know a lot of folks are having difficulties. They have a lot of extra garbage that they're picking up, trash, et cetera, and debris. They are on it. They've done a yeoman's job. I want to say they actually, 2 or 3 persons commented to me. One of them was they were picking up trash till 8:30 at night. That's awesome. A full day. They started early in the morning in that subdivision. They didn't finish till 8:30 that night. Again, and I got another statement a couple of days later, 7 o'clock at night. So they're putting in long hours, long days, trying to get the city straightened out, because they're all behind. You think about it, there's like a 2-day or 3-day period that they can't pick up garbage, and then they're out there hustling, trying to make up the difference, and they are doing just that. And in addition to that, they got a lot of extra issues with the debris. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And the administration has been awesome as well. And I really thank y'all, because as soon as I contact y'all, excellent responses, and you're on it. So we appreciate everybody's efforts. Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Council Chair. Just to piggyback on what my fellow council members have said, Jimmy Aiken, fire department, the police department, the city workers really were outstanding as well. I'd also like to give kudos to Valerie Brolin, because the updates from the city and the information we received were continuous, very timely, very quick, and very thorough. So, Mayor, I condemn the hire of Ms. Brolin that you had done, and we're very fortunate they have many people that we do have in the administration that work for the city. Thank you.
Okay, and Mayor Glazer?
Yes, and we do have outstanding people. They city workers throughout this storm and every day. It's a small group that get all the work done. And one of them, one of the rock stars, is Jose Gonzalez, because he knows it from top to bottom, and tomorrow's his birthday, so happy birthday, Jose.
Happy birthday.
And you'll like it because he's got LSU socks. He's a proud LSU graduate, so somebody gave him socks. But no, on a serious note, the traffic lights at Loyola and Veterans are still flashing in all directions. The state and the city hasn't accepted that project as complete yet. It's still under the contractors. They're having issues with some piece of equipment that is, what do you say, one person knows how to fix it, and he was sick, so that can't happen. So the state's trying to alleviate that problem with this piece of equipment, because if one person knows how to fix it and he's sick or dies, they're going to blink forever. So we're trying to get it fixed sooner than later, and that's it.
Okay, Councilwoman McKinley?
Thank you, Council President. I also want to highlight, I do want to say that there are places in Kenner that did not actually lose power throughout the whole storm, so kudos to Energy for that. During a Category 2 storm, they actually predict that power would be out for 7 days. That's the average, and they got it back within 5 days throughout the entire city, so I'm kudos to them for that. And I also want to mention that there were, one of the main things within the city of Kenner is that we have a lot of churches and we have a lot of community activists that take, when there's a need, they step up. And so I want to recognize all those churches that actually did food drives and, other events, passed out food goods, cleaning supplies, the Vineyard Church, the Family Church, Church of the King, and then if there were any other, those were the bigger events. I'm sure there were a lot of other smaller event churches that did those events. So thank you for being involved in your community, giving back to the community. There were some, like I said, there were some people who still had electricity. So, finding in your heart to give out to help other people in their hour of need, that's really important, and that's what makes Kenner unique, and that's what makes Kenner a city worth living in. So thank you.
Chief Connolly?
Yeah, I just want to say, how proud I am of the men and women of the Kenner Police Department. We went in full activation and disrupted about 190 families. The families gave up their loved ones to come in and service the community, but also the whole family of first responders, the Kenner Fire Department. We worked hand in hand with them throughout the event, and our EMS partners really never came off the streets. They had critical incidents across the city, and even we assisted some St. Charles residents that had trouble getting to the hospital. So, I think the city needs to know that all their first responders work together in times like this, and they should be commended for that. I know Councilwoman Kenny brought up some of the food drives. CRC and the Vineyards had a large one on Saturday. We also had the city, the police department, the council, and Councilwoman Rita Bohannon put one on Tuesday, but it couldn't have been done without the United Cajun Navy, the Church of the King, Convoy of Hope, Aetna, Waste Pro, the Kenner Fire Department, Police Department, and all the volunteers. Serviced about 900 families with pantry boxes and cleanup goods. And I know we're going to recognize these entities at another council meeting, but I think it goes without saying how valuable that was to give Kenner what they needed and some hope.
I also would like to say that in my district, we didn't get as many calls that we normally will get because I live in the Lincoln Manor community, and normally that neighborhood floods tremendously. We did get flooding, but not as much. I was on the ground. I did, everyone that called me, I did go out to their homes to make sure everything was okay. But I also want to say this, you know, we're also doing other things in the district, and we will be putting that out as far as helping people with their elevation. I would like to say that Pastor Mark Mitchell, along with the New Hope Church, will be having a distribution giveaway on tomorrow morning, starting at 8 o'clock. Again, this is people in the district reaching out to help. Also, Councilman Lee was at the Civic Association on Tuesday. He also brought the group from Energy to speak with the residents at that time. So we would like to thank him for that also. Is there anyone else?
Next up, we have new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business, so no motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
At this time, Al Murillo, you have 3 minutes.
Al Morello, 4260 East Royal Drive, 5th District, 52 years. I want to express my appreciation for Councilwoman Marita Bohannon and Mark Grooves, Director of Jefferson Parish Public Works, for taking the time to come to this meeting. But I find their explanation totally unacceptable, both of them, and I'm going to tell you why. Back 46 years ago, and you know I'm tired of hearing overwhelming. That's what, every time we have an event like this, that's the word that's thrown out there all the time. 46 years ago, we took 12 inches of rain in this city. Some of you were toddlers. Some of you weren't even here. We took 12 inches of rain. I lived on that canal number 7, which is not mentioned by nobody. It's the main drainage canal that drains the entire city of Kent that runs into the Duncan Canal. Nobody mentioned canal number 7. 52 years I've been on that corner. We had 7.32 inches of rain with this storm. Joe Yanni, Sunset, the bridge was all underwater. Never happened in the 52 years I've been on that corner. So were we better off 46 years ago than we are today? Totally unacceptable. I don't want to hear nothing but overwhelming. And I'm going to elaborate, Councilwoman Bohannon. You and Mark Grooves, I'm going to elaborate some more at the Parish Council meeting, which is this Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the Gretna Complex across the river. So I'd like everybody who suffered damage, because this was not no power failure. This was mechanical failures on the part of those pumps. And I'd like everybody who suffered damage flooding their homes to come to this meeting and touch that train. Have the line going out the door. Now, I want to commend you, Chief. You did a sincere and honest interview with the news media. And I want to commend you for that. Okay? Now, I toured West Loyola. I toured West Louisiana State. I toured Tulane Avenue. It looked like he looked after I-83. I also got reports on the direct issue to you, Councilman Brennan. I got reports from several residents in that area that you was non-accessible. You was inaccessible. Now, being as you had no questions for the councilwoman and the director of the Jefferson Parish Public Works, maybe that shed a little light on it. But if you can dispute that, I'd like to dispute it right now. I'm going to give you an opportunity to defend that. But I've heard this from several people, and being as I find that odd that there was no question from you, being as District 5 suffered the worst of it in those areas I just described. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Councilman Brannigan.
Mr. Morella, there's a hell of a lot more concrete in houses today than there were 46 years ago. Where the city of Kenner had natural drainage through the land is not existent anymore. So that is a problem. But that's called development of a city.
Councilman Brannigan.
Thank you. To your point, Mr. Morella, Councilwoman Bohannon has been in very much contact with us so that I don't have to ask questions. I don't ask questions of Mr. Gonzalez for things. I don't ask questions of the police chief sometimes because I do my homework before the meeting. To say people were commenting because they couldn't hear from me, they didn't hear from me, I'm not on this to be on Facebook and to be on social media and to be on TV getting highlights. I was with Councilwoman Van Vranken on Tulane Avenue. We were handing out supplies for the United Way. I didn't take a picture myself. I didn't ask to have a picture taken. I was out there serving people that needed assistance. I'm not in this for an ego. That's out in the car. I don't bring it in here with me. I got a text from other people. I got pictures and things that were being on Facebook. My son saw that. My wife saw it. He's an effing savior. Look at him. He's handing out bottled water, and that's all he's doing. You know what? To hell with all of that, because I'm here to serve people, and that's what I signed up for. I got somebody that sent me the most vile email, another person that sent me a vile text message, and then 3 hours later, the text message, that person calls me. Would you leave me a message? Like it was nothing. Like, hey, you want to go to lunch? And then I'm getting texts. Please call me. Please call me. No. Guess what? I've been called Ballas Brennan on emails. I've been called all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure we all have. But guess what? My work and what I've done in District 5 speaks for itself. I don't need to ride around and tout my wonderment. The people that know it know it. If you call my office, you're going to get a response. Many people, most people, every mail out I've ever sent has a card in it. It's got my cell number. I'm sorry if somebody doesn't have it. I get calls at 2 o'clock in the morning to see if the pumps are on. We respond. And I say we because it's not just me, it's my assistant. But again, to sit and just, you're listening to people, a small amount of people that have all these little followers and these minions, and all they want to do is moan, complain, and tell everybody how bad of a job they're doing. Well, guess what? I think the city's in a much better spot than it was several years ago, and I think it continues. But for my wife and my sons to see this stuff on Facebook, for people to walk up and say stuff, and the things that I got text messages and the voicemail on were absolutely unbelievable, an email. So I do my job. If you have any questions about it, you know how to get in touch with me. And again, as far as Councilwoman Bohannon, she's been updating us, the mayor's been updating us, and as I said, the police chief, the fire chief, and everybody else. If I don't ask questions, it's because I've already gotten the answer.
Miss, anybody else? Councilman,
Yeah.
Councilman Short.
Councilman Brannon, touche, love it. I'm the same way with you. I'm not on Facebook either. I got slammed as well because I didn't keep up on Facebook. Facebook, social media is not the official website for the city of Kenner. If you're too damn lazy to push the button over to get the official information from the city of Kenner, don't go on social media. You want information, you get to the city. City only. Not through We Are Kenner Brugg, Kenner Happening, Nextdoor app, none of that. You want information, you get with the city. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, Alan Wiseman.
Be a little calmer on this one here. Just some observations and some concerns. My wife and I've been living out for 42 years on Rhine Drive. The canal runs all the way down to, Chateau Boulevard and then past. But we watched that canal, and before the hurricane came, that canal was not pumped low. I've seen it much lower, and we didn't even have storms. So somebody wasn't doing their homework and pumping that canal down. I know that gentleman said, well, the canal can only be pumped down so much, then it interferes with the pump. I've seen the canal 2 times lower than it was. And not saying that would have prevented overflow, but I don't understand why nobody noticed that that canal was so high.
And that was the one that is in front of this gentleman's
Yeah, in front of his house. The canal was not pumped down.
It was not pumped down Tuesday before a hurricane on Wednesday.
Right. Now, we live on Rhine Drive. It's kind of weird. George has everything this side. Mr. Brennan has on that side. George tells me, look, just communicate with me, and we have. I pointed out to George in the past that the canal walls are getting eaten up. They're 4 feet, 5 feet lower than they've ever been. There's holes punctuated all over the place. I'm just waiting for it to collapse because you have somebody building a development behind there and with heavy equipment and all, and those walls keep coming down and down and down. Now, I've noticed there's construction people out there now rebuilding the wall. One man with one machine. Is he doing the whole thing? There's no communication with the city as to what's going on. We just, hey, look, there's somebody out here doing something. What are they doing? Why is nobody telling the people that live in that area what's going on with that canal? Are they just fixing 20 feet? Are they doing 200 feet? What are they doing? It's not on Kenny's website. It's not in any kind of written communication. It doesn't come from the council people. We know nothing. We're in a blind, and we shouldn't be in a blind.
Well, let me just interject. I want to thank Councilman Brannigan because he is on Facebook. And what he does, he gives us information as to what is going on when we have a question. So thank you.
Right. Somebody mentioned something about a pole, you did, down at our Quick Energy. I reported that to George, and George said it's been reported. For 3 days, that pole was hanging over Powell Boulevard. Could easily have fallen down and killed somebody. And I was like, why is somebody not coming out here straightening that pole? There were 2,000 Entity trucks in the Esplanade Mall. They could have taken one truck with 2 guys and fixed that pole. But for 3, maybe 4 days, that pole hung over. Could have ripped other pole lines down and could have killed somebody. I said, apparently the city does not care about human life, because I would have shut that street down, or I would have grabbed somebody from Energy and said, get out there and fix that pole right now.
Time.
Not 3 or 4 days later.
Time.
Uh,
Nope. Time. We have 3 minutes.
Okay, well, I had some important stuff to say.
Well, I just have one thing.
You can't.
And this has nothing to do with the hurricane. From Vintage to Joe Yenny, there is potholes. And I see Kenner has repaired them, but now they have 2 that are like this deep. Is it on a council meeting coming up that you all are going to address it? Question.
No. Get in touch with your council.
Get in touch with Joe. Well, let me tell you, George
Mr.
hears
Gonzalez,
from me
you'll
regularly, and
Okay,
he's
hold on.
extremely nice to answer me, but he never said, is it something that is coming up? Because Kenner has repaired it, I believe, but gets old, and it's.
Mr.
We will
Gonzalez.
address those potholes. Yes,
Okay.
it's Chateau
Potholes.
between Vintage and Jenny. We will take a look at it, and we will make the proper corrections.
Okay.
Since
Okay,
she has a
thank
minute
you.
left on her thing, with 2 people.
Yeah.
I'd like to know about a sandbag station. I mean, a lot of people could have prevented water from coming in their back doors and front doors if there were sandbags. We used to have
Yes.
sand out here. Everybody has sand except Ken. It's unacceptable.
George?
Totally.
Okay.
So,
I'm-
question, sandbags?
wait.
Nowhere in East Jefferson Parish are sandbags issued because they do not work. It's a proven fact. It's a proven fact.
They don't work, then the rest of the state must be crazy. They lose people.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, I just have 2 things to say. The pole that you reported that was leaning, when I called Councilman Lahat because it was in District 3, he had already reported it the day before. I don't take Powell Boulevard. I cut through them all. And the canal, the representatives, Mark and the guys from Jefferson Parish, discussed the levels of the canals and where they can pump them down to, and it's based on the elevation of the city. And I will get with Councilwoman Bohannon to find out what the parish, because the parish is the person, the entity that takes care of canal banks, and I will get with Councilwoman Bohannon to see how much more the Duncan Canal will be done.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yeah, as far as the two power poles are concerned, one of them was headed north and then the other one's headed southbound. The one on the northbound, the pole was actually snapped at the base. And Energy was aware of it. I got the complaint that day. When I got the complaint, I drove out there, checked on it, and sure enough, it did look bad. There's no question about it. But Energy was on site. They were just driving out as I was driving in, and they were waiting on the power poles to be, the new power poles to be in place. So it was, as soon as I found out about it, I went out there on site. So thank you.
Ms. Bowling? Joey, I'm sorry. Joey.
I knew about the power pole 7 a.m. BB Tran lives right back there. He called me that morning. They were reported by 7:15. So I know exactly what goes on in my district. They were not in danger of falling on cars. Jim Aiken was aware of it, and I was impressed of how quick they did do it within a couple of days. So yeah, we knew about it. I knew about it. I got about 50 messages on things, so we had it taken care of.
Ms. Bowling?
I just wanted to take a second, as you know, in my role as the public information officer, to just say a few things as it relates to social media, because it came up. We at the City of Kenner government, we do have social media. We have Instagram, X, Facebook. I use it a lot. I publish a lot of information to those platforms. But it is important to note that the Kenner website is the official place to go for the latest updates and information. And while Francine, is behind us, the recovery process is going to be long and ongoing. Debris pickup takes a long time. Waste Pro is doing everything. Councilman Wilmot, they were in my neighborhood at 11 o'clock at night. But the process is going to take a while. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that www.kenner.la.us/Francine, that webpage is not going anywhere, and it is going to be continuously updated. What's important to note is that, for example, with repairs are going to begin. By law, every development, including repairs from storms, has to be permitted. The City of Kenner will be waiving permit fees as it relates to storm repairs, but they must be permitted. Information like that lives on the Francine page, even though I do publish it to social media. Another thing that I wanted to reiterate is I'm posting a lot about how local, state, federal agencies are out doing their damage assessments, because we are working vigorously to get included in the disaster declaration. Please, if you can also self-report your damage for GOSEP, that's the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. It's a quick and easy website, damage.la.gov. I've posted the QR code. It's also on the Francine page. And then the last thing is, the City of Kenner government social media platforms is not the best way to communicate questions. The best way to communicate a question, if you want to go to the website and email a department directly, but you can also just email the general email, kennermayor@kenner.la.us, and a bunch of people get that, and we're responsive to that. We also have COK communications at kenner.la.us. But again, all of that information is on our website. We do our best to respond to some questions on social media, but I get hundreds of notifications a day. So it's not the most efficient and effective way to get your questions answered. So if you guys can help me in sharing those things, that would be great. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Councilman.
I just have a question. I guess it's related to what you're saying, Ms. Brolin, but it's also, I guess, it involves legal. And now, we just passed a resolution waiving the permit fees today. As far as, when does that take place for our citizens, so they know?
That's effective now.
It's effective now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
real good. That's
No fees.
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to add on that, because there was a constituent that said that I don't put anything on my webpage. So my assistant said on the D-Dunn Councilwoman page, just follow. All of that information is there. We put everything there so the citizens, even in my district, have access to it. So I think people that said they don't have Facebook, I understand that. But people that do have Facebook, there's nothing wrong with sharing information with them. Councilman Brannigan, Brannigan, I'm sorry.
You can't get those names right, huh? I'm the good-looking guy. On the permit fees being waived, we want the residents to know they have to get a permit, though, because during Ida, we had a problem where people did not get permits. I had a lady that had her house redone in my district, used an unlicensed contractor. Then she was able to get a grant that was not able to be fulfilled because she did not have a permit for the work that was done, and it put herself, she lost a lot of money because of it. So even though the permits fees are waived, you have to get a permit for the construction that you're doing.
Anybody else? That it? Ms. Pearl Gloston? Oh, no, that's it. Ms. Gloston?
Councilwoman, I just would like to reiterate, as it relates to the permitting, we are a participant in the National Flood Insurance Program. As a result of that, every piece of work that you do in the city of Kenner, which is considered development, requires a permit. It is critically important that we capture the damages that resulted as a result of Hurricane Francine. There's issues with regards to substantial damage calculations that will need to be done, and these are all incredibly critical. So I beg and plead that you make certain that you, when speaking with your constituents, that you inform them how important it is. And again, no fee for any damages related to Hurricane Francine, but we do need to have you come in and get that permit.
Ms. Gloston, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Pearl Gloston. My father's name was Henry Gloston, that passed away recently. We own property at 412, 416, 420, 418 Duncan Street in Kenner, Louisiana, Old Kenner. My father purchased that property in 1963. I was 12 years old at the time. We got a call from our tenants that they were doing some repair works on the street for the Duncan Street Canal to take the pressure off of Williams Boulevard that floods when it rained. I went over there 2-3 weeks ago and I talked to the contractor that was working on it. My question to him was, why didn't you notify the owner of these properties that you all were tearing the streets and the drain up? Oh, that's not my responsibility. That's up to the city of Kenner. We just come to do the job. The hurricane came. The tenants that's living in the house, we lost 7 houses on Duncan Street because there was no pump system. I asked him about the drainage. He told me, oh, I'm gonna take care of that. The tenant asked him about the drainage that same day, which was Tuesday. He said, oh, we got drainage. We put a pump on Lloyd Price and Duncan Street. That's gonna take care of the water. They have towed all the pipes up from Oxford Street all the way to Duncan Street. The plan is to empty out the water under Duncan Street Railroad. I went to these people's houses. They had 3 feet of water in their house, all 7 of the houses. We had no flood insurance on them because we had never flooded before. I called, I asked for the drainage people to come out. I stayed there Thursday, I stayed there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The people that was working on it, they were not there Wednesday, they weren't there Thursday. They worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nobody from the parish would come out. They kept calling me and say, we coming, but we have other people that got flooded too. The drain, the pump that they put on the corner of Kenner and Lloyd Price was not hooked up. They hooked it up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I filmed it. The tenants that live in the house, they filmed it. All these houses are flooded. We have 7 families that have to move out because the drains that they put in is not working. I went there yesterday. The pumps are working now, but nobody had the pumps working the day of the hurricane. And the young boy that was there, he walked in the rain during the hurricane to film everything to show that these pumps were not hooked up. The pump, it's a blue 12-feet pieces of pipe. It's on the side of the road for the hurricane, but now they're hooked up.
Time. 3 minutes.
And I want to know why Kenner didn't notify us that they were tearing the streets up. They turned the water off when they want to turn the water off. I followed the contractors to the business in the back of Kenner. They put a notice on all those people's doors and told them they were turning the water off, but they couldn't tell the 7 tenants that live at 412, 416, 420, 418, A and B, that they were turning off the water.
Time. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to answer that?
Yes, Council Lady, this is something we're looking into the matter right now. You know, the project that is being mentioned is a South Kenner drainage improvement, and the lady is correct. It's primarily to alleviate, you know, flooding that normally takes place along William Boulevard. It's a separate drain line that has been installed. My understanding is that there are dual lines along Duncan between Lloyd Price and the Duncan Canal, which is on the other side of the railroad tracks. And those 2 dual lines that were there, they've been there for years, have not been impacted. But we're still looking at it. The drain line that has been installed is separate from those 2 existing drain lines. But I understand her concerns, and that's something that we're looking at, and hopefully we can come up with a report in the near future.
Well, why was all the drainage basin covered? My brother went there the next day with the tenant and uncovered, and all the water left out the yard and everything. All of them were covered with a black plastic and everything, all 6 of them. He went from the railroad track to the end of Duncan on our side and uncovered it so the water could come out the yard.
In all likelihood, what you saw out there as far as drain lines or catch basins or drop inlets being covered, it's a filter cloth that they normally, standard procedure for contractors when they work adjacent to an existing drainage system with drainage structures, they put filter cloths to make sure that the materials from the new construction do not get into the existing drainage system and cause problems. So yes, you can say that they were blocked, they were covered, but supposedly that's a filter cloth that allows water to get in, and that's pretty much a standard procedure for construction contractors to use to prevent the infiltration of sand and other materials into an existing drainage system.
My understanding when I talked to the engineer that they were supposed to put hay around that so the mud and the concrete that was at the work site didn't go into the drainage that stopped the drainage from draining.
Often they do that, but in conjunction with the filter cloth. So that is the cloth that allows water to get into the system. But that's something that, we're going to have to look into it, and come up with a report as to what happened out there.
Okay. Time, you can speak with Mr. Gonzalez if you would like after the meeting. This time, Leroy Sanders. Not here. Greg Taft. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Taft.
Greg Taft, 5th District. What I wanted to talk about today, I'm canceling because I saw something here earlier that I don't feel was proper. I don't think the council well, the council gave the attention to the people that showed up, that was complaining. Earlier when they were discussing, when we had experts here that was telling us what was going on with the pumps, they still had questions, but yet we're going to cut them off and not allow them, because we don't have a forum like they do in Jefferson, to be able to speak out. That is terrible. And after I saw that, I got to tell you, it frustrates me more, because now I understand why people feel that our government just don't care. And I know better. I saw what was going on after this storm. I walked out my door at 2 o'clock in the morning when we flooded, and I'm seeing EMS, I'm seeing KBD at one of my neighbor's house down the street, helping that person. And I'm talking about, we had some serious water on West Loyola. And we're not even talking about the people. We're talking, that had cars that got flooded, that only has liability, that will never get those cars fixed. They just lost it. And so when someone comes here looking for an explanation, I think we should have given them the courtesy. I know y'all are on the time frame. Hey, that's good. But you're also serving the people, just like we did during the storm. Like I said, KPD, the fire department, and some of y'all were out there. And the food trucks that was out, or the food bank that was out there helping the people that had just lost everything. And they come to the council meeting, and we did that. I'm sorry, I can't talk anymore because I'm going to get angry, and I don't want to do that. Thank you.
Matthew McFarland, you have 3 minutes, please. George Capitan. Yep. Marty Hotard. Matt Hotard.
Good afternoon. Matt Hotard, 5th District. I'll keep this short. On the agenda was the blitz nozzles. I know you had a question about that. And just to expand that a little bit, this allows us to, like the chief said, do our job more efficiently. It takes away manpower. Right now we're low on manpower, so that helps pretty substantially. Set the nozzle, either fight the fire, protect exposures, and allows us to go in and do our job as humans. I did want to thank the people that worked on that, because I think that's very important. Our Chief of Administration, Jason Dyer, was part of a group. He's one of them. Our 2 training officers, Raymond Guidry and Andrew Crocker. Britton Allshouse, who was a 7-year member of our department who recently just left. He's actually the one who spearheaded this whole thing, and I'm very grateful for that. And our former accountant, Carmen Burkell, she was also a part of that group. So I'd like to thank all of them for working on this, because it does help us substantially. The day after the storm, we have contacts with Lowe's and Metairie. They reached out, the regional manager reached out and said, hey, look, is there anything we can do? I got on the phone with our chief of administration and said, could you please give me a list or an idea of where the hardest areas were hit? We were on duty, but I didn't know the exact places. He was very responsive. I know you guys were in meetings all day. Lowe's was able to send a truck with a bunch of supplies, and they gave out to the areas that were most affected, and I just wanted to thank them for that, because with everybody else who is doing everything, everybody in this room and all the other entities, I think it shows that even with maybe some butting of heads, we can still come together and try to help those people regardless in this time. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Richard Brown, you have 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Richard Brown, live in District 4. I really wanted to give the council a report on a meeting that Stacy Alessandro and I had yesterday with the New Orleans Aviation Board and with several airport officials. We went to the Aviation Board meeting and both spoke and addressed the Aviation Board, speaking on behalf of Citizens for a Better Counter. Then the chairman, Mr. Magnaris, asked several airport officials to stick around to talk with us later, and we talked for about another hour after the official presentation. And the Aviation Board meetings are not televised, they're not filmed. However, a Kenner resident, Roger Fernandez, did video at least all that portion of it, where Stacy and I spoke and asked questions, and there was a report from the aviation director about what happened with the pumps. I think Roger has that posted on his personal Facebook page. I'm going to see if he can post it on Kenner Happenings. But as far as what Stacy and I learned that really surprised us, and we are aware of the memorandum of understanding between Kenner and Jefferson Parish and the airport that specifies how these pumps shall work, you know, how much water they should pump, when they're supposed to turn on, et cetera. First off, those pumps at the airport are fully automated. What stunned us is that the airport officials said they have no way to start them manually. And if there is a way, they don't know how to do it. Second thing they told us that really surprised us, they do not test the pumps. And that may be because they don't know how to turn them on. But they're fully automated. They're supposed to start one pump at a time as the water level rises. That did not happen. I know that Mr. Drews, the Jefferson Parish Public Works Director, had stated at a press conference this past Thursday afternoon with the other parish officials that they noticed on their SCADA gauges that the airport pumps were not working. They would start, then go off. They'd start and go off. He said, we called the airport, the pump station, to find out what the problem was, or are you having a problem? Can we help you? And the airport officials did not want help. I asked the question at the airport meeting yesterday, why did you folks decline the offer of help from the parish? He said, we did not turn down the offer of help. What was encouraging, and I heard a report previously from Rita Bohannon about the meeting that she and other officials had and Kenner officials had with the airport authority a couple of days ago, that was optimistic. Stacy and I did get the impression that the airport officials really do want to solve these problems. But we were mostly struck by what appeared to be their astounding lack of knowledge as to how their pumps operate and whether they can even be started manually. I see my time is up. I can elaborate if any of y'all have any questions. Does anyone have any questions? If you don't, thank you for your time.
Thanks for going to that meeting.
You're welcome.
No, whenever you, Stacy, and Roger show up to a meeting, I know something's getting ready to go down. So,
thank you.
Motion that the meeting is adjourned.